So I'm on my second tank of gas now, and I can say that it probably hasn't changed too much. So the difference is that these last two trips here, I drove a lot on the highway. So more so than often, that is. I made 2 trips down to Austin, 1 per week. And so normally my normal mile per gallon was 26.4-ish. But like I said, that's like my commute to and from work and errands and stuff like that. So a little bit mixed, some in town, some highway. But like I said, for the last 2 tanks, unfortunately, I spent a lot of time on the highway and I netted 28.2. Now, with that being said, I don't think it really did anything, because simply just for the simple fact is that, you know, my highway mixed driving was 26, and then my virtually highway only was 28.2. So unfortunately, I don't think that the cleaner actually did anything. I don't think that's fair to say though, because like the valves were extremely dirty. So I really didn't have high hopes for it. I think if it was like something that you use for maintenance per se, like, you know, you had it walnut blasted and over time you started just keeping it clean with the CRC stuff, I would say that would probably work. But as bad as this motor was, or is rather, because it's still dirty, I just don't really think that the CRC aerosol spray really did anything.
The next day.
As you guys know, I bought this Focus as like a developmental car here, and it's always had this cold start misfire that I've been trying to figure out here. And a lot of people online were talking about the Purge valve. This is a sealed unit from the dealer, from Ford, meaning that you can't just replace just this valve. Now, some people said that they had codes, other people said that replacing the valve, they had no codes and they replaced the valve and it made a difference. So that's what we're gonna try. We're doing things a little bit differently though, but generally you're supposed to buy this whole assembly from Ford for $60 or $70 or something like that. And we're gonna try something different, because people say that even the Ford stuff fails relatively quickly. So I'm not gonna go over how to remove it. There's plenty of videos on how to do it. So as you can see, this is basically removed, and this is the part that's potentially failed. So we're gonna go ahead and just give it a shot. Now keep in mind that I have no codes. The only codes that I ever get seldomly is a misfire code. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and start pulling this out and see what happens. All right, so I was able to apply just light heat, and I just went around it in a couple passes, and I was able to get this pulled out here. So nothing special here. Now we're going to do the exact same. Basically, we're just going to heat this up and then just kind of rotate it around while putting light pressure on this to get this valve removed out of it. Now, before I pull this out though, I do want to talk about the orientation of it. So the way it sat in the car was like this, and we definitely do not want to put this on backwards, and I'll show you once we... Well, unfortunately, as you can see, it did not go as intended. I don't think it's that big of a deal though. Basically what happened was, when I was heating it up, I held it essentially like this, and it didn't apply enough heat to this end to pull this hose out. So as you can see, the structure of it is now failed. So I went ahead and just cut it off, and now I'm left with this. Now, I don't think we lost that much. This actually stretched quite a bit, so maybe we lost half an inch or so. Anyway, all right, so this is the part number for the valve. It should come up as a Hyundai Kia part number, if I believe. Now, it is different than this valve here. This valve, as you can see, is like the connectors are on opposite ends, where the Kia one is a 90, or Hyundai one is a 90. But the good news is that the connector is the exact same, so they'll interchange once you make the modifications. As you can see here, I've got some fuel line clamps here, and then, so as you can see, the position of the valve is completely wrong. You just have to kind of get it in there to see how you can get it to fit without interfering with anything. I think for me, this will be okay. All right, so I was able to get the hose rerouted here to keep it from kinking. It did take a little bit. It's not secured. I'm gonna leave these clips out for now. I've got the one in the intake manifold because that one's actually important. But this one is currently off, and it's nice and snug, so I don't think we'll have any problems from that. Now remember that its only job is to pull vapors from the tank into the intake manifold, so it does work like a check valve. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to leave it for a couple days, and we're just going to see how it all works out, and then if everything works out good, then you guys will be the first to know. All right, so we're gonna give it a first shot. I don't think it's gonna make a difference though. I don't know when this valve is supposed to be active, but All right, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have made any real difference in my opinion. Cars, the RPMs have come down from where it was before, and as you can see, it still is kind of rough. But who knows, maybe it did something, maybe it didn't. But
Many months later.
as some of you guys know, I bought a Focus ST as like a daily driver slash test vehicle. And so a big thing that has been happening is that the car randomly goes into limp mode. The crazy thing about it is that it does not ever show any check engine lights. I found a couple posts about it online, and essentially the symptoms are like you'll start up the car, drive totally fine, and you'll go to accelerate. So anything more than like 20% throttle, it'll feel like very laggy. The boost gauge will actually go up and it shows boost and everything, but it just doesn't feel very strong. But if you key it off and key it on, like you can, I've done it, I don't recommend this, but I've done this while the car's rolling. Basically just hold the start button, start it back up while you're coasting. And or you obviously the best way of doing it is pulling over and restarting the car, and the problems go away. I've checked for codes off and on, and I've never ever had any codes in regards of like this limp mode or whatever. And anyways, on the Focus ST forums, people had talked about that there is a PCM update. So now, programming an ECU is extremely dangerous. You can leave your vehicle inoperable, so definitely do this at your own risk. This is just for me to show you guys how it's done. Now, with that in mind, again, like I said, this is very dangerous, and you can brick your ECU, and it can leave your car high and dry. So if you're not willing to assume those risks, don't do this. So what we have here is ForScan. This is the beta version of ForScan, and it is paid for. You have to pay 20 bucks for it. And once the car is connected, you're basically just going to go into this subsection here, and you can see, this subsection here, which is the configuration and programming. And you can see that there is a firmware module update. We're going to go down here and we'll click the play button, and it's going to give you warnings that I basically gave you as well. So definitely check these over, and you'll see that when this is done, that my car has a firmware upgrade. So click OK here, and you can see that in this box here, this tells us that there's a firmware upgrade. So you need an internet connection to download it, and basically we're going to go ahead and program it on, and hopefully everything goes well. So mine is already downloaded. As you can see, this download button here. I'm going to hit program now. Key it on, but do not start the engine. So that's done here, and we're basically going to click OK. And it says that it takes 5 to 10 minutes. So it says to obviously let the make sure that you've got a jump box connected and everything else is good. So we're gonna let it do its thing here, and hopefully all works out and I don't leave myself with a brick ECU. Also, don't freak out. The gauge cluster turned off on its own, and I'm pretty sure like all the infotainment stuff turned off all on its own after I clicked OK. So if that happens to you, don't freak out. I think it's designed to do that to save power, just because that this should be on a jump box, which I didn't do, but you should definitely do that. My battery is relatively new, so I'm not too concerned about it, but it is something that you guys should think about. Also, like I said, make sure that you are in the car for 10 minutes to let this all get done, because you don't want the laptop to turn off or go to sleep. Okay, so programming wrapped up, set 100%. All this came on and it scared the hell out of me, but all this stuff did come back on. Everything did get reset though, so like my mileage, my mile per gallon counter, whatever, all that stuff is reset though. So at this point we should have the new firmware, and as you can see, the car obviously started right up. Now I don't know if this update is the fix for my problem, and like I said, my limp mode that would come on happened extremely randomly, so there's no rhyme or reason on why it would happen. But like I said, it would guarantee happen at least once or twice a week. So I will go ahead and drive the car, and I will keep you guys updated on this one. And just to give you guys a quick verification, basically I double checked it to make sure that it did in fact change to the new firmware. So that is definitely all good there. And like I said, we'll give it a couple days, and I'll go ahead and I'll update it, and then the video will come out. So hopefully this fixes our random limp mode problem, and I'll keep you folks posted. All right, so I'm actually pretty happy to say that after the ECU update, it's been about a week now, and no signs of the limp mode whatsoever. I would say that it wasn't super common on my car, but it would happen usually once a week, sometimes twice a week. So I think it's good. So I really think that if you have an issue, guys, with your Focus ST just randomly going to limp mode without any codes, and again, I'm just going to describe the symptoms. Car low throttle, like 10 to 15% throttle and below, car runs totally fine. But when you go to get on it or apply any type of throttle, it would make boost. You would only get, like, for me, I'd only get like below half on the factory boost gauge, and it just felt like the car struggled nonstop. It wouldn't go up hills without having to downshift, all sorts of weird stuff, and it never threw a code for it. But after I did the ECU update, it's been, or the ECU firmware update via ForceScan, everything's been good. So it definitely was worth it. If it ever comes back, I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But so far, I'd like to say that this one's good to go.